Hey, what's going on, loungers? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mason T. So today we are going to be counting down the top 10 craziest moments on the Pegasus Lounge. Now, I've gone ahead and ordered them from mildest to the worst. So each moment will get increasingly more and more absurd. So without further ado, let's start the countdown, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Number 10.
Now, when we say methods, we're talking about the amount of items you have to list and you have to sell for a certain profit margin to be able to reach that $1,000 a month. The first sort of method that we suggest that people try to use is you can sell 100 items for $10.
Is anybody else kind of disappointed? Because when he said 5 different ways, I was thinking of nuanced ways, creative ways within the reseller that might even change my mind about reselling. This at a glance just looks like 5 different ways to slice a cake. I mean, that's what it looks like.
Number 9.
For a sell-through rate of 386%.
And we say 374, because remember, we start with the number of items that has sold, divided by 32 current active listings, that is 11.68. If we turn that into a percentage, that means that it has a 1,168% sell-through rate. This calculator has a sell-through rate of over 1,000%.
You know, the true irony of this scene is that it is a crazy calculation about a calculator.
That is crazy high.
That is crazy high.
Number 8.
Which brings me to my next tip, which is you can always work on lowering your cost of goods to squeeze out a little bit more net profit per item. But I caution you with this one because typically when people lower their cost of goods, the quality of the items that they have drop. So you want to make sure not only do you lower your cost of goods, but you also lower your cost of goods while still picking up the same quality of items.
If you could already do that, why wouldn't you have done that yesterday?
Number 7.
Right now on eBay is selling for $14.98 with a total sales of 529 sales. Okay, and I was able to source basically the same item on Amazon. Guess for how much? Look at this. Let me open for you right here for only $8.99. So that leaves me with a total profit of around $3.50 and a total sales profit of around 1,851.
Yeah, but this thing started in July 29th of 2022, guys. You know how many months ago this is? This comes out to 32 months ago, all right? Guys, whip out your calculators right now, right? What does it say? 529 sales divided by 32 months, okay? This thing sells about 16 and a half units every single month. Okay, so 1851 divided by 32 months, right? You get a whopping total of $57.84 every single month.
Number 6.
A rebellion against big brands, because big brands are the real problem. They manufacture trends just to kill them 3 months later. They overproduce, overhype, and throw away perfectly good items every single year. And they fill landfills full of clothes that were never worn. Shelves literally get cleared every single month for new lines that nobody asked for. They don't recycle and they literally don't care. Therefore, we have to step in. We flip what they discard. We give value another shot at life. Resellers aren't hoarders, we're heroes.
So we're in a
We
cave.
fight fashion with smart flipping. We make money and we make meaning.
Now, before I get into my full rebuttal of his ideology, I just want to play you guys a clip from this particular video where he is specifically addressing fast fashion brands such as H&M or Zara.
The kicker. Fast fashion copies vintage. They recreate 80s and 90s styles with cheaper fabric, lower quality, and inflated margins. Real vintage, it lasts. Fake vintage, it fades.
Okay, so the idea is that he is not a fan of H&M or Zara, so definitely he's not going to be selling these things. So here's my full rebuttal of the ideology that he put out in this video. This is the most egregious version of romanticizing, glamorizing, sensationalizing what reselling actually is. Reselling is nothing but a type of arbitrage from one market over to another market, and he doesn't actually even practice what he preaches. When you see the other video that he did as he's talking about fast fashion, basically he's saying, don't buy the fast fashion stuff that disintegrates after 2 washes, buy the real vintage clothing, just like how you see in his store of Levi's 501 jeans to Ralph Lauren sweaters. Now, he specifically says over here, it's a rebellion against corporate waste, a rebellion against big brands, because big brands are the real problem. Right. But you're doing nothing against those big brands because what you sell and what those big brands are doing are unrelated. Now, I'm not going to say that Shein and whatever are directly the culprits. Some people believe that. Some people are not sure about that. That's not the point. The point is that you are not the last stop or doing anything against those particular big brands who are supposedly landfilling the landfills.
Number 5.
Of course, a place to take pics.
This is the portion where you're going to say, yeah, there are definitely resellers because we have this as well, right? The lights, the setup and stuff like that. Okay, calm down. Here we go. Look at all of this stuff over here. This is not your simple reseller stuff. This is something completely different. But the point is that they are doing listings where you could sell multiple quantities of stuff. They are doing listings where it starts to rank higher and higher in the eBay algorithm because it has conversion rates that don't go away.
Here is one place we sort, and here is where we store.
So the proper way to do eBay ultimately is not reselling, even though a lot of people are going to be arguing that like, okay, yeah, but resellers is where eBay people start and eBay started off that way. Yeah, true. Okay, fine. I'll give you that. But it's not like that anymore because if you want your listings to rank high so that you could constantly have a steady flow of sales, you need to have replenishable listings. And in order to have replenishable listings, you need to go out and get more items that you could constantly get more of. A lot of people confuse this with like, that's not true, Peg. I could just go out and get more stuff anytime. No, you can't. Can you get the exact same model, exact same color, exact same size? That's what I'm talking about. You have to be able to sell the exact same UPC code over and over again. That's what I mean by you can't get more of it. Not that you can't get more random stuff. You can't get more specific stuff.
Number 4.
You don't have to list every single day, but you should have a consistent inflow of products into your store. Every store that has slow sales, the solution to this, and the most important thing to remember, is that eBay will turn your store back on if you put a fresh number of listings into your store every single day for a week.
If you put in a fresh listings every single week, then eBay will turn your store back on. When did they turn your store off?
Number 3.
Mystery boxes work a little different. Let's say you have wholesale or bulk sell lots, or you have extra that you want to get rid of. You can do a mystery box. You can say, I can guarantee that there is $100 minimum of value in here according to eBay or according to market value.
I can't believe he's giving this advice right now. If you have extra trash that you want to get rid of, right? Well, why did he use the S word for those things? So let me pack it up into a box and then tell people that it's $100 value.
Number 2.
Where I have a guy saved on my phone as parking lot Hoka guy. Don't even know his name. Parking lot Hoka guy.
So you guys have each other's phone numbers, but you're not even on a first name basis. You don't even know if his name is like Mike, Joe, or David or something like that. This is a parking lot Hoka guy. Let me give him his number. I deal with him all the time. He sees me every week, but I have no idea what his first name is.
And this guy calls me every single week when I'm at the flea market, and he is parking lot Hoka guy. And when he runs around the flea market and he's finding these items, I meet him in the parking lot and he sells me 20 or 30 pairs. Great. Great for everybody. It's great for me. Great. I don't care if he makes $20 per pair. I hope he does. I hope he's out here getting them for $1 and makes $19 per pair. Great for him. Guess what else has happened? He's told his friend that I buy these particular shoes for this price. And now his friend calls me when he has them and he has 10 pairs per week.
I just want to scream BS from the top of the hills, man. Okay, check this out, guys. Check this out. If you have a friend who also has some Hokas or whatever, right? Wouldn't you just go ahead and then go collect them from your friend so that, you know, normally I was going to give Tech 20 Hokas, but my friend's got another 10, so let me go pick up 10 from him, and now I'll supply, you know, Tech with 30 Hokas. Now, why would I give the contact to even my friend? That doesn't make any sense. So maybe my friend will sell it to me at 17, and then I sell it to Tech for 20, and then I make the $3 on top of that, right? Because I know Tech is definitely going to buy anything Hoka. So how does that make any sense, right? Be like, hey, I got this guy who's buying the same thing that I sell, that you also sell, so you sell to him too. Like, that makes no sense, right? Because we don't know how finite your business is. I don't know how many Hokas that you could buy. I don't want you to say something to me where, like, look, I can only do up to 1,000 Hokas every single month. And I was the steady supplier of that, but now somebody else is undercutting me. And on top of this, I'm going to give your contact information away in order to help other people do this. That doesn't make any sense. If you are the client that you say you are, then to me, I bag the whale. Why would I share that with anybody? This is such strange anecdotal stories, right? That really, again, it doesn't align with normal business behavior. And that's why I don't believe these stories. So like all great countdown videos, there's nowhere we're just going to jump into number one without doing a couple of honorable mentions. If you're enjoying the content so far, please go ahead and give it a big like, as well as leave in the comment section which moment was your favorite moment. All right, back to the video.
But I will tell you that Goodwill's and even some thrift stores, if they're getting it for free, being donated, and they're selling it, they are making a huge profit. And especially Goodwill, pricing things extremely high. They're not in the business of helping resellers to make money, or even...
When did they ever... This is, guys, do you know what a straw man argument? When people make arguments that nobody is saying. When did Goodwill, Salvation Army, any of these places ever say that they're in the business of helping out resellers? They're called Goodwill, Salvation Army. They're not called Reseller Supply Company. They're not in the business to help you. They're in the business of their own profitability. They sell things that are donated to them. We all know this. But the reason why I'm so against reselling so much, right, is because when resellers convince other people to resell, this whole new demographic comes about. Look, think about it. Originally, everybody will tell you, anybody who's a reseller or a thrifter or whatever will tell you that jeans used to cost $4 at Goodwill, and now they could go anywhere for like $10, $12, or $15. What happened? Aside from inflation in the country, there's also a ton more people buying this stuff because, number one, of inflation, so people want to buy somewhere else where it's a little bit more cost effective, but as well as there's more and more resellers out there looking to profit off of this stuff. So if anything, what I'm hearing him say right now is, boo-hoo, they marked up the price so much so that I don't get to mark up the price. That's what you're pretty much saying. What am I missing here? You're upset that the price is so high that, and therefore, as a reseller, there's no margins for you to go mark up the price. That's terrible. That's like saying, like, oh, you know, these people who pillaged this village, right? They are terrible because we didn't get to pillage the village. That's what you're saying.
LED and I to refocus and refuel and then reload. We're able to clean up our inventory. We're able to get new stuff listed and be ready when that ball starts rolling again.
Right, but how? He never got into it. See, here's the thing. If you have inventory and now your sales takes a slump in Q4, you said that you're going to restock, reload. So what did you do with the inventory? What happened? How did you restock or and then he said put in fresh new listings? But what happened to the back inventory that didn't sell over Christmas because people don't want to buy vintage goods as gifts? It's completely skipped over. This is one of my biggest gripes with this particular video is that you just he gave a solution that wasn't a solution, and then we just moved on to the next thing.
Probably at least 6 or 7 years I've been doing end and sell similar. And 100% yes, it still does work for us. So just because you do some action doesn't mean that the sales that came after that are because of that action. If it works for me, it may work for you or it may not work for you. You have to test it all yourself.
Number 1.
So there's 2 different methods The method 1 is the more common, easy way that resellers use. It can determine how hot or not hot the market is right now, and it can also answer the question of about how long it might take for our item to sell given the market circumstances. And to be fair, I don't fully 100% understand method 2. I have learned method 1 and have used that, and it has gotten me this far, and I'm pretty pleased with the results. So I can speak more on method 1, and if other people are understanding method 2 and like they're experts with method 2, feel free to educate us on that.
So you don't know the material? That's what you're saying. Before you saying that I'm being too harsh, I want to remind you that in the description of every single one of her videos, she is asking people to join her workshop for $25 a month. You are charging people while you don't understand the material and you don't know what you're talking about. I want to say at this point, if you are still defending these people, you are being willfully blind now, because this isn't even about disagreeing anymore. There's nothing for me to disagree here. She doesn't actually know the material to the point where you're going to pause the video and ask the audience if somebody can explain it to you. Look at the title of this video, right? I already knew it was a joke the moment that I found it. How this one thing made me a top 0.01% eBay seller, and I'll teach you. You don't know the material, but you're going to teach us anyways. And this is what the top elite 1% of the 1% on eBay looks like. This is what the top sellers really look like, the 1% of the 1%, really. I make these videos because my empathy and my loyalty lies within the viewers. I care very much about the viewers who come into this space and try to learn this stuff, thinking that they're going to be taught something useful, when the truth is these people are just faking it until they make it. The more they speak, the more they out themselves for not actually knowing the material at all. And in this particular case, he just openly admits it. How egregious can you be?